Long weekend already. If you want to give tips for the little solo I sang earlier, the offering plates are right up here after service. On a serious note, we're in week 2 of our stewardship series, and as we do every year, at least one year, we review the 5 main membership vows of the church that everyone who is a part of First Methodist vows to uphold it with their prayers, their presence, their gift, their service, and their witness. And we're in week 2, so we're talking about presence. Not presents with a T, like you give or receive, but presence. Yeah, not those presents. No more Transformers. You're a little overbooked on the Transformers side, I'm afraid. But actually being there. And presence is something that is taken for granted in a lot of organizations. Or it's something we have to buy in a lot of organizations. I know I went to a banquet recently here in town for the Chamber of Commerce they put on a few weeks ago. And they had this great speaker that came in. He does a travel show for PBS. Believe it or not, PBS is a 5-time Emmy award-winning travel show. And he came in and he talked about mineral wells and they did all the exciting Chamber of Commerce business before. And at one point, halfway through all the business for the chamber, someone from the chamber stood up and said, "Well, we're so glad there's so many people, and they're all here, and they're staying here, and we've had such a great turnout." And it was a banquet at the country club, and there were 300 some people there, and we were all at our tables for 3 hours, and it's about halfway through that, this guy says this, and someone in the back says, "We're all here because we have to be present to win the door prize at the end," which is a $1,000 raffle. To be present to win. If you don't do that, it just kind of deflates. I'm part of another civic group in town. We did a raffle this summer as a fundraiser, and you didn't have to be present to win. And I promise you, every single person who won, it was $500 every month for 3 months. Every person who won was never there. In fact, 2 of the people didn't even live in Texas. They just bought tickets online and they won. Let me tell you, that deflates the room. Really does when they're not present and they win. You have to be present to win. This is something that Jesus, I think, understood and took to heart when he talks about what it means to be part of the kingdom. That's something we have to understand about this chapter 18. A lot of times, chapter 18 in Matthew's gospel is taken to be things about the kingdom. About the church. The church this, the church that. But if you go back and read chapter 18, he's actually talking about the kingdom of God, which is this wholly different entity than the church. The church can be part of God's kingdom and can be moving that way, but there are also a lot of churches that are not part of the kingdom and are caught up in self-interest and other things and move away from it. And Jesus is giving exclusive instructions about what it means to be part of that kingdom, specifically relating in chapter 18 to interpersonal relationships. In fact, verse 20 comes at the end of a section in chapter 18 where he's actually talking about conflict resolution. When I was doing my counseling degree in grad school, we talked a lot about cognitive behavioral therapy. And then we shifted all that into family systems theory and all this other stuff that might put a lot of you to sleep. But we talked about, specifically in systems theory, this idea of a triangle. And that created so many problems with people. Because you'd have one person over here, and they'd have an issue with the person over here. So logically, they would go over here, and they'd talk to the person they had an issue with, right? Oh no, that's never how it works. They have an issue with, these 2 people have an issue, so this person goes to this person up here and talks to them about the issue. Well, the person over here is really bad. I don't like them, they're messing everything up. They always wear the wrong color on the wrong day. They drive the wrong kind of car, they say the wrong words, whatever. And now the person at the top has an issue with the person over here. And I bring this up because it has a lot to do with the idea of presence and the presence the church has. And in chapter 18, specifically in the passage we read today, Jesus comes to the end of talking about how not to do this to his disciples. He's literally telling them, when you have a conflict with a person, you don't go to the person up here and complain, and then the person over here and complain, and the person over here. You go directly to the individual, he says further up in chapter 18, right before this passage. He says, you go directly to them. And you discuss the issue with them. And if that doesn't resolve it, then you get to go to person A, B, C, D. No. He says, go back, grab another person. The two of you go together. And the two of you together, everyone in the same space, talk about the issue with the original person. And so if that doesn't work, go to the church and grab some of the leaders, and all of you together as a big group go and you talk about the issue, slowly ramping it up. And eventually, if the issue can't be resolved, then the first two people just need to part ways. But then at the end of describing that whole conflict resolution process, Jesus says, verse 20, after discussing how the church and the whole group is to respond to the original person that is causing an issue, Jesus says, where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, there I am in the midst of them. Jesus issues a statement about presence. How we are to be present. And in fact, that whole model for resolving conflict that he talks about in chapter 18 is all about presence. Too many times when we have issues with people, we try to resolve them by not actually being present in the issue or with the person we have a problem with. And so many times when we try to resolve it from a proxy like that, it just gets worse. It just gets worse. Guess what? This doesn't just work with individuals, it works with whole big groups too. There's, like I said, so many churches earlier that are a part of or moving away from the kingdom. And I have a feeling a lot of them have developed issues with their community. And they, instead of going to their community and building that relationship, instead of being present in their community, go to different areas and complain, well, no one in our community likes to go to church anymore. No one over here can give what we need. No one can do this. No one can do that. You know, the people over here don't like this. They don't like that kind of music. They don't like these buildings or these colors. It doesn't matter for the church if we complain like that to ourselves or maybe other people of faith or other churches about all those issues, if we don't go directly to the people we have been sent to and be present in their lives. Jesus calls us as people of faith, specifically as Methodists, to vow to uphold our church with our presence. And far too often we limit that to only being on church on Sunday. But to actually be present and supporting the church is a 7-day-a-week job. It means going to the community that we're called to and being present in that community. Hearing their needs, their wants, their desires, their dreams, and introducing them to a God who desires to love them. Being present and supporting our church with your presence is about being that voice and that witness in the community. It's not something we can hold up in here and wait for the return of the good old days and everyone's going to flood back to church and fill the pulpits and they're going to like the good old music the way it was. That day is never coming because that day is gone. Instead, what God has done is He has called us as people of faith to go out to the community and to share the presence of God with those people where they are. far too often, that is hard. That is difficult. I know for me a lot of times that induces a lot of anxiety. I wish I could share with you for just a moment how anxious that can be when you go out in town and you're talking to people and you're meeting new folks and you talk about what you do for a living. Oh, I'm a welder at a Pico Facet. I mean Parker, and that's how they correct themselves right now. Or I do this and I do that, or I work out on the base here, or I work for the school district. Or you say, well, I'm a pastor, and then it gets silent. You're what? Oh, I'm a pastor at First Methodist Church here. And then they all take a breath and they take a couple steps back. Oh, really? And they all try to act really nice afterwards. I know completely, probably more than anyone here, how anxiety-riddled it can be to talk about your faith. Because for my profession, I literally wear it on my sleeve everywhere I go. There's no getting away from it. There's no avoiding it. You can't be like, oh, I work in the nonprofit sector. Well, what do you do in the nonprofit sector? Oh, just a little bit of this, a little bit of that, I don't know, just helping people, I guess. You can't get around it. Lord, and uphold our church with our presence, a presence that is not limited by the physical structure of our sanctuary, then we have to take that reality, sometimes that anxiety like I do, and share that reality and not shy away from it. We have to go out into the community and declare boldly that we, yes, belong to that church behind the baker, the one with the bell tower that probably has some bats in it every now and then. Yes, I belong. I'm the pastor of that church, and we feed kids every week. Yeah, I'm the pastor of that church, and sometimes I have to get in a dunking booth. I'm a member of that church, and we're in a bell choir, and it's not too bad. Or I'm a member of that church, and we sing in a choir. And maybe every now and then our pastor forgets to turn his mic off, and he joins us too. If we're present as members of our church, it's something we're all in on. It's something we're fully sold out on. It's not a 9-to-5 job where you get to go home and take that coat off. It's something that goes with you always. You're a member of First Methodist. You're a member of First Church. You're a member of First Church when you're on vacation. It's a presence you dwell in when you go to school. It's something that goes with you when you go to the doctor's office, or when you stand in line at Walmart, or if you're like me, when you get frustrated at Walmart because the little self-checkout gun that you carry with you doesn't always work the way it's supposed to. It's something that goes with you when you travel, when you go to visit relatives. It's something that goes with you in the best parts of your life and in the deepest, darkest parts of your life. It's still there. If you are present and upholding this church, you're committing its people of faith to dwell in that presence always. Not just Sunday morning. So I encourage you as we go this week, go out into the community and live in the midst of the community as one who dwells in the presence of God. Take the altar, which we believe is where the presence of God rests in worship. Take that same feeling you have as you sit or kneel before it, and have that same reverence and excitement and wonder and mystery, and have that when you're at work and it's boring. Have that when you have that difficult student to deal with. Have that same feeling of wonder when you sit in a doctor's waiting room. And don't let the wonder be, well, they had me report 2 hours before I was ever going to get called back. But let the wonder be about the mystery of God. Let it fill you and excite you. Let yourself dwell in that presence always. And then let yourself dwell in that presence when you come here on Sunday. Because as Jesus says, for where there are 2 or 3 gathered in my name, I am there in the midst of them. Thanks be to God. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.